Hello Dragon Ballers, today we're breaking down a mystery that isn't really talked about a lot in the Dragon Ball community, but I know there are a few audiences that have been wondering about this, and that is how powerful Frieza's minion Apool really is. And we're basically going to break down his overall strength by identifying his power through different sources as well as comparing him to other characters. And at the end, I can give you guys my personal opinion on where Appule lies in the power scale of Frieza's henchmen. Now, listen, I know in my last video it was a bit too long for some people, but guys, trust me, I'm trying to learn my best on how to keep my videos sweet and reasonably length, while still mentioning the key points I wish to mention. But it's just that sometimes my videos will end up longer than others simply because there's way more to talk about in that video compared to others. But yeah, I just felt like, I had to point that out for future reference. Anyway, now let's talk about Apool. So according to Dragon Ball Wikipedia, there isn't really an official power level for Apool, but there are different sources that state different power levels for Apool. So starting with Dragon Ball Z, Super Saiyan Densetsu, they list his power level at 1500 to 1700, which is quite low to what most would assume of Apool, since, let's be honest, the average power level for a Frieza soldier would be around 2000. But if you see Apool is even lower than that, that should say a lot about his ranking and why Frieza chose him to keep him in his crew instead of just ordering him to fight like the other soldiers did with the assault in the Namekian village. But because Frieza tells the Doria to scan the Namekian power levels, and remember, they were initially listed as 1000. So let's say Appule is the same level as Raditz, 1500. Then why didn't Frieza send Appule to fight alongside the rest of, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But anyway, when we look into the next game, known as Dragon Ball Z Goku Geki Toden, we see that he again is listed somewhere around 1500. 1520 to be exact. And I think a lot of these Dragon Ball Z games just see Apool as a side minion. And I can understand why, because obviously Apool isn't a big boss in Dragon Ball Z nor the games. And the players would just see Apool like an obstacle, like those fearless minions you just fight before you get to the main boss, etc. So a lot of these games probably see Apool as just another Cyberman and someone you can find if he has a warm type of thing. But if we look at Dragon Ball Z2 Gekishin Frieza, we actually see Apool given a much higher power level where he's listed at 6000, which means he's not just an average Frieza soldier. And that would actually make him stronger than Nappa, who's 4000 by the way. But I did find something interesting in Apool's Wikipedia, where if you go to his power section, it states Apool is the only regular soldier to survive the battle in Mori's village, and was able to fight multiple Namekians, which again, it even says here that they had a power level of at least 3000. So I guess I must have been wrong about Apool not being involved in a fight. But maybe he really was fighting the Namekians off screen or something. Now, this tells us a lot about what we need to know about Apool, because this is either Apool getting extremely lucky and just happened to not get hit by one of the warrior Namekians, or he actually was stronger than the rest of the soldiers in that fight. But since Frieza put him in the same group, I guess his power isn't huge enough to be separated like the Dory or Zarbon, who just got to watch the fight unfold in front of their eyes. But Then here's another interesting thing about all of this. If you look underneath the point that is mentioned, there are actually statements from guidebooks and authors. In this case from Daisenshu 7 from 1996, where they say Apool's power is an ordinary Namekian even though he was able to hold his own, which is kind of insane considering the fact that if his power really was below an average Namekian, then how the hell did he not get killed by, or at the very least knocked out in the fight where the Namekians had a 3000 power level? Now, having said all this, and seeing what different video games and authors and official information from his Wikipedia say about Appule, what do I think his power level should be at? Well, the real answer is, we can simply never know. And why is that? Well, because Akira Toriyama never gave him an official power level, which is the whole reason I'm making this video, so that we can discuss together and debate whether he was a weakling, like the rest of Frieza's army, or if he was actually given some significance since he was able to survive for a while before being brutalized and killed off screen by Vegeta, who now at this point had a power level of 30,000. Because remember, Apool was killed right after Vegeta was fully healed. So there was even less chance of Apool surviving Vegeta, let alone overpowering him. Now honestly speaking, do I see Apool winning a fight against someone like Nappa? My answer would be no, but I do think Apool could still give Nappa a pretty rough fight. I say this because if you're telling me Apool was the only soldier that survived in the whole battle and there was a good 20-something soldiers fighting the Namekians with him, then that really says a lot about Apool's power and his abilities. Do I think he could beat Raditz though? You know what, maybe. I'll say yes because Raditz was listed at 1500 and Apool definitely would be around that level, if not much more, if he was able to survive the village fight. But anyway, to conclude this video, what do I think Apool's power level is? Well, in my personal opinion, when factoring all of this and putting it into perspective, I would estimate his level to be anywhere from 4000 to 6000. Now, why do I say this? Well, number one, because if you look back at the manga and anime section, where it talks about his power, there is one small but crucial detail in all of this that suggests that Apool might not actually be an average Frieza soldier, where they have the regular in quotation marks, which signifies that he may only be under the assumption that he's a regular soldier, but he's actually stronger than that. Especially if you see that he was set to fight against multiple Namekians, so not just one. Now, I know what you're thinking. If you list Apool as 4000 to 6000, then shouldn't he be able to beat Nappa? My answer would still be no, because I feel like Nappa just has way more energy techniques to his advantage, and his 4000 power level is only his base. So when he actually gets serious and powers up, his power could rise much further and he could end up overpowering Apool. But I'm just saying this from my opinion again and the way I see it. You guys may think differently, but I just can't see Apool beating Nappa. I just can't. Anyway guys, that's all for today. Let me guys know what you think Apool's power should be in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.